So let's kind of get into it. So welcome everyone to the NetBox Community Call for June 2025. I'm going to remind everybody of our agenda, but no change from previous months. We're going to kind of go over some of the upcoming events at NetBox Labs, a little bit of news around NetBox in general and the NetBox ecosystem, and then we'll get to parts that I think most of you are here for, which is our guest speakers. So we have two great speakers today. The first is Seth Baksh. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly or close enough. I apologize. Who'll be talking to us about, if I remember well, security and in NetBox. And then we have our second speaker, Andy Wilson. And then at the end, I'll do my classic kind of call to everyone in the community who would like to come and speak to us or share your stories. There's so many great stories out in the community. It's just I think it's just an awesome way of sharing the knowledge, sharing your experiences, sharing the pain sometimes with the community, and making us all stronger for it. So. With that said, we'll kind of move on to kind of some of the upcoming events. One of the webinar for next week with our own Rich Bibby is getting started with Diode and the Diode SDK. This is going to be a very kind of not quite hands-on, but a technical session, kind of getting into the details of Diode, the Diode SDK. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with it, but it's a ingestion service for NetBox that essentially it doesn't replace the NetBox API, but it actually provides a streamlined data pipeline to get data into NetBox without having to be quite as surgical in your in putting data in. You don't have to be quite as specific in terms of defining all of the references to objects and such. And so a lot of people are curious about Diode and would like to know more and would like to know how to get started with it. So this is going to be a great session to get into all of that and kind of hopefully make sense of it and get you on your way to doing that. So the registration link is on there and the QR code is there. We'd love to be in attendance. I'll be supporting Rich in that webinar, and we'll have our own Chris Russell as well, kind of walking us through the technical exercises in there. Another great webinar that's coming a little further out. This one is out in July, but I think this is going to be a really exciting one. Is about NetBox Operator, which is powered by our Nitro AI set of LLM and AI capabilities. And so this will be a kind of a great session if you're looking and want to see kind of where we're going in terms of AI and NetBox at NetBox Labs. This will be a great session to work through the various use cases and the way that we're approaching this set of problems. Again, the registration's on there. I think that's going to be a really exciting session. That one's going to be led directly by our CEO, Chris Beavers, and so I expect that one to be quite entertaining. On that note, let's move on to NetBox news. This one is a little bit arcane, but I thought I'd go into it in a little bit more detail than I usually do on these calls, and that's about the NetBox branching. So for those that might not be familiar, we introduced a branching capability to NetBox almost a year ago, not quite a year ago. I think it came out with the 4.1 release that came out in August or late August, early September of last year. We introduced the branching capability to NetBox, which allows us to do Git-like functionality in NetBox. And that has continued to evolve since then. We've done a number of upgrades. We're actually actively working on it, so stay tuned for some more exciting improvements there. But one of the kind of the improvements that just was published actually last week that you might be curious about, and for which there are some dependencies that I thought I would bring up here. So one of the issues that was raised with NetBox is the inability to upgrade NetBox when you have open branches. Branches, if you recollect, is kind of a copy of the main database. And you can imagine when you're upgrading versions, particularly minor versions where there might be some schema changes, the schema changes need to be applied to the branches as well as to the main database. And so the full kind of plumbing wasn't in place to do that prior to our branching plugin 0.5.6. So if you're using branching today, and you do want to be able to upgrade with open branches, what you'll need to do is to upgrade your branching plugin to the 0.56 version, which will essentially put in place the migration tables that are required to do those migrations in the future. Once you're there, you will then be able to upgrade to NetBox 4.3 and the branching plugin 0.60, which is coming soon, probably in the next few days, which will allow you to kind of move up and migrate all the data in the branches as you're working, as you're upgrading NetBox. And then from there on in, you'll actually be able to do any upgrades in the future to any new minor or major versions with open branches and have those branches be migrated with any schema changes that might apply. So I know that was a lot. Please do check the release notes. The release notes are kind of indicated at the bottom. But the short version of this is that you should pass through the 0.5.6 version of the plugin as you migrate forward to ensure that you pick up the migration tables that will allow you to do upgrades in the future. On that note, maybe Mark, you can keep me honest. Did all that make sense? Do you think, or is there points of clarification maybe that I need to?
It made sense to me, but
Yeah.
hey Jake's a branching fan. So yeah, it made sense to me. I guess one assumption is that everything you just said will be in the 5.6 and the 6.0 docs, presumably, so people can go follow along
Yes.
with it there. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. The point here was really to emphasize if this is a problem that's relevant to you, to please go take a look. And this isn't kind of your ordinary plugin upgrade. There's a few moving parts more than usual here, and that's why I wanted to point to that fact so that you're kind of aware of that. But yeah, thanks, Mark.
Got it.
And then the next one's actually yours, Mark.
Yeah, so we're going to tease this one a little bit more because it's been getting a lot of attention. So to give you a sense of the story, so far, I think we put out a tech preview in maybe February. We moved to private preview sometime after that, and the response has been overwhelming. So if you're one of the people that got into the private preview, congratulations. If you're one of the many people who could not get into the private preview, I have good news. We're moving to public preview at the end of June. So what does public preview mean? It means that the repo will be out on the GitHub. Anybody can use it. And for any of you who are familiar with this, NetBox Custom Objects, unfamiliar with this, NetBox Custom Objects essentially allows you to model new types of, add your own objects in NetBox. So I added a couple of screenshots here from some fun that we had over the weekend, building out a couple of these things to more accurately model VXLANs. And it's getting to the point now where it's kind of slick. We were able to pull different models together like VNIs, VNI groups, VTEPs, VXLANs, all of this without any coding, and then go ahead and like start spinning objects up like that. If you want to get more of an intro into what this is, if you've never heard of custom objects before, you can go to the link down at the bottom, netboxlabs.com/events, and then webinar-netbox-custom-objects. Or you can just wait until the end of June. It's scheduled for the week of the 23rd, so that's next Monday, but it'll probably be closer to the end of that week, looking at the things that we still got to get done. So yeah, if you weren't able to get into the private preview, you do not have long to wait. And I think that's probably all I wanted to say on that one.
Well, there's a question for you, because I know you love this topic, Mark. Somebody's asking, what about VXLAN?
That's exactly what we're modeling here. So I'll tame it. Yeah, I don't really like deploying outside note on the topic of VXLAN. Is there anything on the roadmap to add VXLAN as an object? Yeah, I don't know the answer to that without going and looking in the backlog. What we're showing here is that we decided to just build our own VXLAN objects with VNIs, VNI groups, and VTEPs, and then associate those with the relevant core models, which is something that you can do in custom objects. Maybe the VXLAN core is a question for you, Richard, although I'm just going to go and look in the demo.
Well, I guess I was teeing that up just to say that is the type of thing that you can model with custom object. Now, whether, the longer term roadmap is whether kind of migrate that into the core data model. That's a kind of a longer term question, but the short term answer is that we'll be able to monitor to model these using things like custom objects. And
Yeah.
and maybe not to steal your thunder, Mark, but there are thoughts of building out, um, you know, uh, a repository of, blessed, if I will, models of these that you could then import. So similar to the device type library, the ability to share modeling in these ways and extend your NetBox implementation with that. So you wouldn't necessarily have, even though the custom object functionality allows you to do it your own, it would allow you also to share the modeling that others might have done and use it in your environment. So
That's exactly right. We got big plans there, but the goal for now is to get it into everybody's hands. And what we're specifically doing with the public preview for custom objects is taking our time with it. So it will remain in public preview, which basically means you can use it, but it's beta until NetBox 4.4, which is end of August, kind of beginning of September, so that we can get a lot of feedback from the field. Now, we already have a whole bunch of extra things that we want to add, but we also want people to try it out and give us their views as well, so that when we put that GA badge on it, we're confident. Last point on VXLANs for Jaco in rainy Cape Town. If you go to the demo and go to L2 VPNs and add, you'll see that we do already have basic modeling for VXLANs. You can choose the VXLAN or the EVPN type. I'd put the link into the demo instance that down at the bottom there.
cool. Thanks, Mark. So on that, let's move on to the core of the subject today, which are our speakers. So our first speaker is Seth. He'll be talking to us about security-driven network automation. Over to you, Seth.
Thanks. Just to give you guys a little background on myself, been doing automation for forever, and I'll paste a link to my how to connect with me on LinkedIn if you guys want to, and ask questions as follow-up as well. So feel free. The beauty behind this platform that I'm going to be talking about is 90% of what I'm going to show you is I'm going to go ahead and take over the screen share. 90% of what I'm about to show you is all free from a community edition standpoint. As well, there's a paid side of it, and I'll mention which one's paid. But what's nice is everything I show you, you can talk to NetBox and pull in the information here as well. So for example, this is what we call a workflow, and everything I'm going to show here in this workflow series is all related to Tines Community Editions, and all these actions are free to use in the Community Edition. A couple things I also want to touch on is also AI as well as security. One of the things is imagine running to retrieve all IP addresses from that box, and then you want to summarize it. We have this capability within the platform to give you a summarization by using plain English. Hey, give me the IP status and the device it's associated with. If you mouse over here, here's the entire payload, massive amount of data. Now, the beauty of that is it's summarizing it here for an input point of view. So you're getting all of that here. What I love about this is it's taking a large sum of data and consuming it down to where you don't need to write Python. Oh, I should have showed you that. If you wanted to, there's the Python code. My apologies on that. Here's the Python code. You can actually still copy it and use Python if you wanted to. But the whole point of this is for us non-programmers. Well, I shouldn't say us, but for a lot of folks out there that are non-programmers in scripting and automation, this is where this come into play. Really helps you out from there. Now, the same concept over here goes back to retrieving IP addresses, but then with this, again, this is all included in the platform where it actually shows you summarization of the IPs. Now, I'm going to get to why is all this important here in a minute. But what it's doing, it's actually grabbing all the same IP data here, using plain English again, and summarizing that data for you. And I'm going to go through that here in a minute to showcase what you can do from there. So here's what the data looks like in an output. giving you the active router, the IP address, things like that. Then from here, again, same thing, and tying all into showcasing you from a standpoint of, hey, I have a web page I can go to, and I can pull in all this information around getting all the IPs, and then continue building that out. And if anyone have questions, I'll answer them after the demo here. So if you have any questions, let me know about that. So right here, it's pulling back all the IPs and bringing that information down here. So any data points that you want to, you can pull back from an automation standpoint, leveraging this type of workflow. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward. Here's my credentials. Here's the resource domain I'm talking to, and here's my IP address that I'm pulling in. So the next one I have is basically devices, but instead of me clicking this and popping that up, I want to show you something that's really cool. We actually have this capability of building a collection page. So same thing, you can actually have your employees go here if they're looking for all devices in the network. So now it's going to query it, pull it up, and have a web form so they can see it. So it's a nice thing from the security point of view of keeping your data isolated, only showing what you want to show them. And here's the nice point of view of that. This is a summary of it. So again, it's hiding data that you don't want other folks to see from that standpoint of just presenting a page so they can come here and view it. Same thing going back to our collection of pages. You can have as many as you want here and doing the same thing with IPs. Now, the beauty behind all of this on this workflow here that you're seeing, it's pretty straightforward to set up. Next week, I'm going to have these in what we call our Tines library. So if you search for NetBox, you'll find these out there and you can pull this story in and use it in your community edition for free with your NetBox. Now, why is all this important and where I'm actually going with this is tying all of that automation and AI into having a conversation with your data. And I, like an idiot, I left off my tool to showcase you guys. The the open source, what I was doing here. So I added this capability of searching for vendor specific use cases around the vulnerabilities out there. So what I wanted to be able to show you is, hey, get all the devices from NetBox. And this is going to make an API call on the back end, but it's using AI. So I'm actually chatting with my data now. But what's nice about this is the fact that it's pulling back all my data and it's pulling back my model, all this information around what's in there from their point of view. What I can then do is query my open source DNA. And the reason I use this, the open source here for NVD, sorry, I can actually pull back in that information now and actually can see what is vulnerable in my environment. So it's a nice way of leveraging this, and this is a paid interaction, but the nice functionality of this is folks doesn't need to know programming. All of these are just enabling this and adding credentials, but I can actually say, hey, for search NVD for Juniper. And what it's going to do, it's going to go out there, search, and return this data based off of that. Now, the beauty behind this, again, it's you interacting with the data, not the actual customer. I'm sorry, not working about APIs. All of this is done for you in the back end. And let me see why it failed. Oh, didn't tell me. I know I failed. I should have used Juno S instead. So it's searching for this capability here, and then it will bring you back all that information. So this is one of the things that me personally need to tweak with my template here, is basically allowing you to just search any vendor and bringing back that information. So now it's pulling back key vulnerabilities and letting you know all that information is here. So this is how you can take your inventory data to chat with open source CVEs. Now, I only use one open source version for CVE and security, but imagine now talking to your vulnerability platforms, all of your other security tools that are out there as well. You can do the same enrichment from that standpoint. Um, the other part of this is very extensible. As you can see, I only have this list of tools, but if I hit edit tools, I have uh, a whole bunch of different tools. Like you can even do IP location. If you have an external IP, you can actually get where that is located on the left here. And if you're looking for something like a Tenable, a Qualys virus total check, all of those, you can actually do a scan and run those and bring that information back. So it's kind of showing you how automation, a workflow builder, instead of using our CLI, which we're all so much used to, trying to get people to come to the side of using a workflow automation to try and, make your, job easier and faster and more efficient from that standpoint. And hopefully that wasn't too fast for you guys, but I'm open for questions.
Thanks, F. Any questions? Just post them in the chat if you have any questions.
I've got a question, Seth. Maybe you could drop it in. Seth, maybe you could drop it in the chat. What's the easiest way for people to go get started if they're interested in this and they want to kick the tires themselves?
Sure, I'll go ahead and do that while Andy's presenting. There's a couple of places, and the beauty behind it, you get to build 3 stories like I just showed you. That was 1 story, and making any kind of integration you want to NetBox. And it's at tines.com/signup, but I'll drop that in the chat for everyone. And also, I'm going to drop a link to the library as well, where I'm going to be posting that story. So what I just built and show you, everyone will have access. And the beauty behind that is you just click the import action and it will bring that into your tenant. And all you have to do is add your credentials and you're done. It's as powerful as that. And that's the reason I wanted to showcase this is I've been doing automation since building ATM networks, and that's with Perl and Tickle scripts. I don't know if some of you guys might be old enough to remember that. So that was a very long time ago. But here is where let's try and make it easier, make it UI friendly, and showing people forms and pages, and saving your sanity instead of everyone trying to run something on a CLI. And well, it works in this system, but not these other 15, and trying to debug that. So that's where I'm trying to go with this and help folks out. So I'll drop a link and all those links in the chat as well. Thank you very much for your time, guys. And thank you so much, Mark and Richard, for having me.
Hey, great. There's actually a question just came in from Stephen asking, would this work well with trying to get your data set up for Ansible?
Yes, and actually, I'm working with the Red Hat team on helping our platform tie into Ansible more so customers can leverage our platform to push and run job to Ansible as well. So it's one of those things. Same thing with Terraform. I'm a router nerd at heart, so the first thing I tried was Terraform and Ansible from the UI to those platforms. I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. This is awesome. So it's just trying to eliminate that CLI that we have going. So yes, we can definitely integrate from there as well.
Cool. Thanks, Seth. Cool. So on that note, let's pivot over to our second speaker. Let me just quickly share my screen. So our second speaker today is Andy. He'll be talking to us about a new plugin, the NetBox Security plugin. Over to you, Andy.
Hi guys. So I guess I developed a NetBox plugin for security, and the background behind that was the ability to basically model firewall rules. So it looks like cancel. I'm going to have to share. So let me just share with where is it? gone. Desktop 1. There we go. And share. And allow. And I guess people can see my screen now. So NetBox Security is a plugin that models security zones, security policies, firewall rules, basically firewall policers, and address books, address sets, etc., and NAT. So I'll just give a quick demo and start by adding some addresses to NetBox. As you can see, this is running NetBox 4.3. And for an address book, we have, let's just start with some simple addresses.
Hey, Andy, just a couple quick notes. One, the screen's a bit small. Are you able to boost the font a bit?
Yeah, just let me get there. I can zoom in. Is that better?
Much better, yeah. And also, we don't require speakers to be on cam, but you're off cam, just in case that's a mistake.
Okay. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. So let me just add a mask in here and create one. And let me just create another one for the purpose of the demo. And you can add a DNS name, doesn't have to be an address. So things like FortiGate use DNS names as well as Juniper, etc., etc. So I have created kind of 2 addresses here. And for each of those addresses, in order to add them to a security zone policy, I need to associate them with a kind of list, right? So let's just create that one and come back into this one and create here. And create that. So now I have address sets. So I can add either address sets or addresses directly to security zone policies. Address sets are combinations of addresses. So if I come in here and say, yes, address set, then I can select multiple address sets and build up a kind of list of addresses for my security policy here, right? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to move straight on to security zones where I can add security zone, for example, DMZ, and let me add a public one as well. And here I can create that. And now I've got security zones and I can add security policies. So for example, public, I'm going to add a source security policy and I'm going to say allow www, for example, and I have to give it an index and I'm going to say source address, for example, if this was the internet, and destination would be DMZ if I had web servers in the DMZ. And then I can say application, which could be a list of ports or a list of protocols. So let's see, HTTPS, and then I have policy actions where I can permit that traffic. And I can create that. And as we can see, now I have a security policy here that's allowing from this address or range of addresses or address sets or whatever into this DMZ host here. And if I come back into here, I can have a look and I can see the destination policy is assigned with the DMZ here, right? Then the next thing the plugin looks at is kind of NAT, right? So although you have NAT on the devices in NetBox, it's not really sufficient to kind of model enterprise-based NAT. So we have NAT pools. And let me create this, and then I can have pool members, and I can pick from IP address, prefix, IP range. So I created some IP addresses earlier. So let me pick this one, and source ports, let's say 80, and destination ports 80 for this pool member. I can create that. And then I can go back into pools, and I can see that I have NAT pool members listed for this NAT pool here. And you can build up your pools, however many combinations you want, whether it's prefixes, IP addresses, all coming from the kind of IPAM tables, if you like, modeling. And then we have rule sets, right? So rule sets are basically collections of rules that use pools or source addressing or source prefixing, whatever. So let me say this, and they are assigned to security zones, right? So if I wanted to NAT all my traffic from the DMZ back out through an IP, I can do this, and I can create that. And now I can add rules. So let's call this rule 1, and static, many types of NAT are supported, so static or dynamic. And we can pick IP address, prefix, IP range, or a pool, right? So let's go for example, a source address here, and a destination address, I guess, here. And we can have outbound assignments. So outbound assignments can be done. We can use a pool to NAT this, or we can use a custom interface to NAT this, or and custom interfaces are supported by Palo Alto, or we can map directly to a device interview by assigning a device interface, inside the device interface view. We can assign this NAT rule directly to there to have outbound NAT. So I'll use the pool that I created earlier, and source ports, I guess. Let's pick 80, 443, and 80, 443 again, and we can create this rule. So now we have this NAT rule, and obviously we have source addressing, we can have source prefixes, and we can have source IP ranges if we want. And let's go back into the rule set, and now we have NAT rules up here with this rule set, so we can drill down into the rules there. And finally, we have firewall filters. Firewall filters are not really historically supported, but obviously people want to automate firewall filters. And kind of the ACL plugin doesn't really kind of do firewall filters justice when it comes to devices like Juniper and FortiGate, for example. So let's call this protect to give a kind of, maybe a kind of router engine protection filter, and create this. And from here, we can add some rules. So let's say allow SSH, for example, and give this an index of 1. And we can select the firewall filter, and we can say from source address, let's say 10.1.1/32, and a source port of any source port of 22, and TCP established true. And then we're going to accept this, and we're going to count this, and maybe we're going to log this. And we can also send this to a policer if we wanted, sample it, syslog, all the kind of things that you would normally be able to do with a firewall filter. So let's create this, and we have a rule, and let's add a second rule just to say deny all, and give this an index of 100, and add that to the same filter, and say any and source address of any and then we can say discard equals true, and maybe we want to send this to syslog as well. So we can create this. And now I can go into the here and I can say the filter rules. We're allowing SSH into the router, for example, and then we're denying traffic. Dead simple. So finally, we have firewall policers. Now, policers are a kind of element that allow you to police traffic, discard traffic over certain thresholds. So let's create a test policer, and let's say it's a physical interface policer, and there's kind of some defaults here, so I'll not fill in them, and there we'll say discard traffic that's over the threshold, right? Or we can set it to forwarding class. Let's say best effort, we want to discard anything that's over the threshold. So there I can create this, and we have a policer here. Now, how do we assign all of these to devices? So here is a firewall device I created earlier, and we can simply have some form elements down here that allow us to assign security zones and assign all the other elements. So let's do that. And now we can see that the security zones, DMZ and public, are assigned to this device. I didn't bother to create a kind of configuration template for this to kind of build a config, because I guess people are running lots of different types of devices. And let's assign this guy a firewall filter as well. And maybe let's not worry about anything else, but let's assign him the firewall policer as well. And now we have assigned what we've created. I haven't assigned any kind of NAT or anything to this guy, but we've assigned policer and DMZ, etc., etc. So I also have added all of this to virtual contexts. So if you're running logical systems or VDOMs or anything like that, you can assign everything again the same within kind of a VDOM or virtual device context, if you like. So if we had a security zone inside this VDOM, we could create that and assign that here. So that's kind of everything. I'm open to kind of people creating new issues in GitLab. It's an open source plugin, obviously, and I'll get around to those issues whenever I can. And if anyone has any questions, they're welcome to ask.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. There are a few questions that came in, so let me kind of quickly go through them. Seth asked, can this data be populated via API as well?
Sure, everything is API available via the REST interface in NetBox by default. Yeah.
Cool. Glenn asks, will this integrate with pfSense?
I would have to look. pfSense is based on OpenBSD, so I don't see any reason why you couldn't build firewall rules for pfSense the same. There's, I'm not sure if pfSense has the concept of security zones or not, but I'm sure it'll have something similar. But yeah, I don't see why not.
Cool. And then we have Kevin was asking, does it support import export via CSV?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So we can scroll down, open up security again, and for example, security zones, we can import, export security zones.
Awesome stuff. What else did we have? So one of the questions was, is it available for download? So Chris already answered the question, but it is part of the plugin catalog. And so if you're in NetBox, you should see it under admin system plugins. You'll actually see the list of all of the yep. Thank you for doing that. And so security, there it is at the before last button. So you can click on that link on the left there. The name of the plugin will actually send you to a page that provides more details about the NetBox security plugin as well. So, and if you click on the actual name of the plugin in the left, yeah, there, yep. And so it'll give you all the links necessary for those who might want to install it. Very cool. So we have a question around, can NetBox Cloud customers test this plugin? Yep, there's no reason that now that it's in the catalog, it's considered compatible. You should be able to put in a request to test the plugin. And the
One
rest of-
question up at the top, I noticed. Let me scroll back up a bit. Oh yeah, Yako asks. So I think this when you were creating the original addresses, Andy, Yako asked, are those address objects separate from the existing address objects, which I presume means IP addresses in core?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Future version might kind of merge the two, but right as of today, they are separate.
Got it.
The reason for that is because I don't see things like NAT addresses of NAT pools and things like that are not necessarily you're not going to necessarily resolve those things. Also, firewall filters are not necessarily going to be sourced by yourself, right? So for example, if I'm allowing Joe Bloggs access to something, then maybe I don't own his IP space, right? So I've kind of kept them separate from IPAM for a reason, right? NAT specifically because you tend not to resolve pools that are being NATed, because if you're doing NAT based on a per flow, then obviously every single flow is going to have a different source address or a different NATed address, and companies don't tend to resolve those NATed addresses. But in the future, there's no reason why I can't link them into the IPAM model, but I kind of kept them separate for a reason.
Cool. Thanks.
Awesome stuff. Thanks, Andy. And I think there's feel free to read the chat. There's plenty of accolades there, Andy. So well done.
Okay. Thank you.
Let me go back to our deck to close us off for today.
I just want to throw a quick question in while you're going there, Richard. We got 70 people on the call. It peaked at 76. That's on the higher side for us. And basically, I want to know why. So I don't know how to do this exactly, but if you could put like how you found out about this call into the chat, I'd be really interested to see what the results are. Back to you, Richard.
Cool. Thanks, Mark. Well, on that note, I want to thank Seth and Andy, but I also want to make a call out to the rest of the people on this call, whether you're watching us live or in a recording later on. We'd love to have speakers to come on the community call and talk to us about the great things you've worked on. You've seen examples of people building plugins, but people also using NetBox in different ways in other components. So any and all stories NetBox related are relevant here. And if you're not a plugin developer, you're still very welcome. And I'm sure there are some great stories to be told. So I'd like to make a call to everyone that might be interested to do that, to increase your exposure, or just tell us about your success stories, or even tell us about your horror stories if the rest of the community can learn from the things that you learned the hard way. And if you're not a public speaker and you prefer not to be to talk directly on the call, we'd love to capture it in other ways, whether it's a blog post or other means. So definitely do reach out if you'd like to participate in this going forward. I think these are great opportunities to share with the community, and everybody gets more out of it. So on that note, I want to remind everyone that the next call is going to be roughly in the same time next month. That is Tuesday, July 15th. Same time, same place to register. I also believe that now you can register and be automatically registered for follow-up calls. You don't have to register individually. And so that'll help that. And on that note, maybe any parting words, Mark? Do you want to share at this point, or?
Yeah, just thank you. Just a couple. Thanks. So it looks like a lot of people are getting the emails. So I'll let marketing know that they work. And we've got one person referred by a coworker. So that's enough data for me. Thank you. One thing to call out, if you go in the chat and have a look at Jake Heroux, he pronounces it Hero, you'll see that his company, Haggerty Insurance, biggest insurer in the world for special types of vehicles. Sorry, Jake, probably got that wrong. They recently did a customer story, like a user story with us. It's super cool. They're doing loads of interesting things. Go take a look at that. But more so, if you're doing interesting things at your company and you want it to be featured on the NetBox Labs website, reach out to us and we'll talk to you and we're going to figure that out. I believe the team that Andy's now in at Nokia have recently done one. And there's a few other, specialty vehicles, classic sport cars, classics and sports cars, etc. Thanks, Jake. So if you want to tell your story, like Richard said, it can be either on a community call presentation like this, it could be a blog about something you do, but we do also do these specific kind of customer or user stories that get a lot of attention and really help other people in the community to understand what's possible with NetBox. For all of the above, reach out to us and we'll figure it out.
Cool. Thanks, Mark. And just to close things out, another thank you once again for Seth and Andy. Great stuff, really interesting presentations. Thanks for sharing that with the community. And on that note, I will close the call and wish everyone a great rest of your day. And hopefully we'll see you next month. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.